i podcast dell'ACIS alla ricerca delle culture, storie, lingue e identità italiane, un articolo o libro alla volta. Episodio 4.
Welcome to the ACIS Podcast series, in search of Italian cultures, histories, languages and identities, one article or book at a time. Each episode discusses a recent publication by Italianists working in Australia or Aotearoa. This is episode 4.
Benvenuti a tutte e tutti. I am your new host, Elia.
And I'm your co-host, Lisa. We have taken over from Luca and Mili. It's great to be with you all. Today, we're diving into a really special new collection that just landed on our desk. It's called Stories from La Tavola, and it's a beautiful anthology from a collective called Ascolta Women.
Yes, it really is beautiful. And it's also a book that breaks with patriarchal views of Italian history, migration, and food, as the cover image reveals. It's a powerful, almost jarring photo of a broken plate and spilled pasta. It immediately tells you this isn't going to be a romanticized collection of Italian recipes and stories, full of pizza, pasta, and mandolino.
Exactly, Elia. The cover sets the stage for something much more complex. And the title itself, Stories from La Tavola, is so clever. The book's introduction points to a piece by Margherita Angelucci that explains the nuance of the word tavola.
Sorry. That's right. This was fascinating. In Italian grammar, the table as a simple piece of furniture is masculine. Il tavolo. It's just an object, a utility.
Yeah, that's right. But when you put a tablecloth on it, when it's dressed and ready for a meal, it becomes feminine, right? La tavola. Suddenly, it's a place of nurturing, of gathering, of family.
Yes, and the book uses that transformation as a central metaphor. It explores how that nurturing feminine role comes with immense pressure and expectations, this idea of being well-dressed and proper. The writers use it to question those imposed gender roles.
It's a reclamation of power, really. Taking something associated with the domestic realm and showing its critical importance and its complexity. And that leads into the other major theme for me, the often overlooked role of women in the story of Italian migration.
Yes, absolutely. The book actively avoids what it calls the narrow and stereotypical representations that we often see. It isn't just about nonna's perfect recipes, right?
Right, it's about hardship, trauma, and resilience. Food here becomes a conduit for being heard, as the introduction says. For me, it's a really effective way to talk about domestic violence, mental health, and the sheer difficulty of adapting to a new country.
Yes. Their labor was so often the invisible engine keeping families and communities running. This book makes that visible. It's a really moving and necessary collection.
It truly is. And speaking of the incredible women who brought these stories to life, we are very lucky to have an interview with two of the book's contributors.
That's right. Our colleague Andrea had a conversation with Teresa Capetola and Elena Callipari, who not only contributed a piece, but are also proud co-creators of the Ascolta Women Collective. Andrea, ci sei?
Thank you, Lisa and Elia. My name is Andrea. I'm the chair of the Australasian Centre for Italian Studies, and I'm delighted to have the opportunity to have a conversation with Teresa Capetola and Elena Callipari in just a moment. We're just waiting for them to join us, so bear with us for a few seconds and we'll see you very soon. Thanks.
Eccoci qua. Benvenute a Teresa Capetola e Elena Callipari. Welcome. It's a real pleasure to have you on this little podcast. I hope you're well.
Thanks,
Ciao,
Andrea.
Andrea.
Yeah, lovely to be here.
Great that you can be here with us. So, we talked a little bit, as you would have heard from Lisa and Elia, about the book, sort of in a general way. But I'm really keen to sort of to dive in a little bit more and ask you a few more questions about the book. And I know that both of you have contributed to the book in many ways. So if I might just get started, Teresa, I wanted to ask you perhaps the first question, which is about your own story, the story in the book that you call La Scuola Pasta. And it's a story, a very powerful story that centers on the Scuola Pasta, the colander, which is such a simple, very useful, but certainly very simple everyday tool in the kitchen. So, can you tell us a little bit about this story and what it means to you, and of course, what it means in the context of the book?
Thanks, Andrea. Yes, la scola pasta of course, in my family was used almost every day, as I'm sure it would be used in many Italian families, for la pasta. And I was intrigued by this particular prompt that we had in this workshop of to choose an item from the kitchen, could be il cupino, whatever. It's interesting that as a second generation migrant, a lot of my words are childhood words in dialect that were very intimate in the house, so la pipi, la scola pasta, those things to do with childhood because we only spoke in dialect. So when I chose La Scuola Pasta, it was a very strong connection to my childhood and to the memories of childhood. And I realized the inextricable connection between the language and the memories. La scuola pasta can only be la scuola pasta. It can't be the colander, it can't be the thing that the pasta drains out of. It can only be la scuola pasta. And I was intrigued by how language evokes emotions, how it connects to our feelings. And then, of course, I started to explore what was this scuola pasta. And of course, in my house, as I'm sure it is in many people's homes, la scuola pasta was that battered old aluminium thing under the sink that you quickly got out, put into the sink, and it was like part of the family. And so I kept thinking about La Scuola Pasta and what it meant to be in the family. And of course, the relationship to my parents' migration journey. My mother brought La Scuola Pasta with her as part of her baule, part of her corredo, her dowry to Australia. And of course, I hadn't really considered this. Again, it was like part of our everyday life. It sat in the kitchen, but it was a connection to Italy and a connection to the migration story. And so, of course, I explored that idea of what did La Scuola Pasta hold? It held pasta, it let through water, but it was also the holder of memories. And so I suppose I was trying to explore in a creative and poetic way how we try to hold some things, memories, while other things disappear or we can't contain them in our hands. It can be the trauma of the migration, it can be the trauma of the loss of the relations, the family that are no longer with us. So I did try to embody La Scuola Pasta with a lot of the very poignant issues around migration, loss, and language.
That's really interesting. Thanks so much, Teresa. That's really powerful, and in fact, in a way, it's a really strong metaphor of what the book really talks about: the kitchen as a very contested, difficult, challenging place. It's a place, of course, great memories, but also of discrimination, of conflicted, difficult memories, and trauma as well. And in fact, this poor battered scola pasta, it's a really very strong, powerful image. So thank you very much for that. Elena, if I could just perhaps do the same with you. If I could ask you, please, to maybe tell us a little bit about one of the stories that you talk about, and perhaps one of the most uh, powerful one in the book, which is I Taste. Can you tell us a little bit about that story, please?
Well, absolutely. I guess this piece really, for me, brought back, quite charged emotions. And you mentioned before about the kitchen being a contested space. Well, this I guess for this piece, I was in a intimate, safe space where no one else could be, which was in the bathroom. And it was very much about an expression of domestic violence in its rawest form, really. And I was experiencing, all of the things I talk about, from tasting blood, from my tongue being split and swelling in my mouth, from looking for obvious, marks on my body. And it was a safe space where I could do that. But it was also, in those minutes where I was in this safe space, it went from that feeling of not having any control and to being controlled and to being, made to feel unworthy, to actually, I guess, forming this feeling of revenge that, and I had been betrayed. And, you taste blood, it sort of does something to you. It really, it sort of coalesces some sort of goal to get out of that place. So that kind of is what I was talking to, that feeling of, I'm not going to put up with this anymore. It is not okay. I'm worthy of, having freedom and a life and my own control of destiny.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, it reminds me very much of quite a few threads in the book that really very much about, on the one hand, as a reader, I felt compelled to sort of to listen, to actually read these stories, some more challenging than others, but certainly the importance of listening and also the importance of empowering the authors, but also the communities that are involved in some of these stories, and giving voice and learning from these difficult, sometimes exciting, wonderful, but also very difficult experiences and lives. So thank you for sharing that. It's really, really important.
Can I
Teresa,
just say,
of
Elena talked
course.
about being in an intimate, private, and safe space in the bathroom, but of course, Ascolta provides that safe space as well. So we like to think that we have created a creative environment to stimulate creativity, to stimulate memories, to stimulate connections to emotions, but also it is a safe space. It is a space where we give permission to ourselves and to each other to explore issues that have not been listened to or perhaps expressed. So Elena's story is powerful and not unique. And I think in Elena being courageous in talking about her personal experience speaks to the broader experience of multiple women. And
Yeah.
in Ascolta, we hold a safe space, a space of confidentiality. Elena, of course, is happy to talk about her experiences, as am I, and to name them. But we do hold a safe space for women. You may also have had a look at the dedication at the start of the book, which of course speaks to the major themes, which is that, to all the women who have set the table and to all the women who have upset the table.
And Teresa, if I may just actually read it out very quickly. So the dedication is to all the women who have set the table, to all the women who have upset the table. We hear you. So yes, thank you.
And in Italian, if you'd like to read it, Andrea, it's even more beautiful.
A tutte le donne che hanno apparecchiato la tavola, a tutte le donne che hanno ribaltato la tavola, vi ascoltiamo. Teresa, you anticipated me in a way, because my next question was really about Ascolta Women Collective. So you already told us the significant work that the collective does, but can you tell us a little bit more about perhaps where the Ascolta Women Collective is based, how it sort of operates, and how can our listeners, some of our listeners, get in touch if they so wish to do?
Yes, absolutely. Ascolta Women was formed in 2020, right on the cusp of COVID. So we have a very painful but very historic birth from the Victorian government called a lockdown on the 16th of March, and we had the launch of the Ascolta forum, which was based on my PhD research on the lived experience of the second generation Italian Australian women, on the 13th of March. On the 14th of March, we had a creative writing workshop to explore some issues through the creative writing process. Then there was the 15th of March, which was a Sunday, and we went into lockdown on the 16th. So that galvanized a lot of us because we were brought together by these common ideas of speaking unspeakable memories, experiences, and also that we wanted to explore these and to support each other more. So because we were already going online because of the COVID experience, we went online, and Ascolta Women was born as a creative collective that meets with women across Australia, and now we have women in Italy and in London and in Canada. And we meet online, and we meet every 2 weeks to explore these stories through thematic prompts. So we will think about a theme for the year, and then every 2 weeks we will explore that theme in more detail. Elena, do you want to continue with that process?
I think you've pretty much covered it all, unless Andrea's got specific questions.
Well, I suppose my next question, Elena, is about the series of books that you're publishing, which, of course, as we've just talked about, give
Yes.
voice, but they, deal with different topics, different challenges. So perhaps if you could just maybe let us know a little bit about what has come out and what's coming out next in your series.
Yes, so we've written, we've done 5 collections already. So the first one being Stories from the Inside, which was that experience of being in lockdown and exploring that. Plus, it's got a fabulous timeline of that whole year, which it's just so terrific to have. Then there was Stories from La Tavola, which is what we're discussing today, and those sort of themes around food and the good and bad of food that we've been talking about, and food as a metaphor to talk about things we are often silenced about. Then we had Stories from La Notte, which explored sort of themes to do with the night and myths around things like the evil eye and the things that we grew up with, these kind of mystical explanations for life. And then we had Stories from La Terra, which explored, I guess, our migrant connections with La Terra that we left and La Terra where we arrived. And, it was interesting. I remember when we were doing the editing around that and how many stories reflected our fathers and our fathers, links with La Terra. And then we had Stories from the Other Side, which again explored that what is the other side? Is it the other side of life? Is it, the other side of the fence? Is it, just exploring that prompt in however it resonated for people. And now we're finalizing our collection around Stories from El Corpo and, everything to do with the body and, all aspects of the body, all aspects of how we're getting older. And how our body ages. So, that's been also a very rich process. So that's that will be our 6th anthology.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thanks so much. I'm getting signs from Lisa and Elia that we need to unfortunately bring this to a closure, but can I just thank you on behalf of ACIS for coming today and having a conversation with us. And thanks for also sharing the wonderful work you do as a collective, as a group, and very much hope that we have another chance to talk soon. So thanks to Teresa Capetola and Elena Callipari. Thank you very much for being here and hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Andrea.
Grazie, Andrea.
That was our colleague Andrea, in conversation with Teresa Capetola and Elena Callipari, contributors to the edited volume, Stories from La Tavola. The book is available online and in selected bookshops around Australia. For more details on how to buy this volume and any other from their series, check the podcast descriptor.
Grazie a tutte e tutti for listening to our latest episode, and make sure you look for our next one. A presto!
This series is produced by the Australasian Centre for Italian Studies using a Gen AI platform. The hosts' voices are artificial, while the authors are original. The episodes are edited by Andrea Rizzi, with the assistance and approval of the authors responsible for the research discussed in each episode. If you would like to contribute, please write to admin@acis.org.au.